I'd like to call to order the July 2nd, 2025 meeting of Lower Sound Township Board of Supervisors and ask everyone to join me in the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. That brings us to our first public discussion period. There are two on the agenda every evening. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to be recognized? All right, seeing none, I'll take a motion to approve the consent agenda items.
So moved.
Second. Moved and seconded, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Carries. Committee reports, zoning hearing board, Mr. Dukowski and Mr. Bezat.
There is no hearing board scheduled for July.
Park board, Mr. Swanson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The next park board meeting will be September 23rd. We're taking off July and August, but that doesn't mean we are not here. If there's questions or concerns, email, phone calls, anybody sees anything in the park or a suggestion, please let us know. Otherwise, September 23rd in this room at 7.
Very good. All right, moving on. Fire chief.
All right, for the month of June, we had a pretty busy month. We had 47 calls, 23 were during the day, 24 at night. We had 16 fire alarms, 9 electrical fire outside, 4 building fire non-commercial, 2 building fire commercial, 2 CO detectors, 2 gas odor leaks inside, 2 officer investigations, 2 special services, 2 vehicle rescues, and then one of each of the following: appliance fire, building investigation, gas odor outside, general rescue, trash dumpster fire, and water rescue. 36 of these calls were in Lower Salford, 5 in Franconia, 5 in Talmenson, and 1 in Marlboro. We provided mutual aid 8 times and received it 9. And we had a total fire personnel response of 482, averaging 10.26 firefighters per call, with 27 hours and 4 minutes in service.
Busy. All right, any questions?
Thank you, Mason.
Thank you. Freedom Valley Medical Rescue Distinct.
Evening. So our calls were up for the month of May, so I'm reporting on May. We had 394 total dispatches, 80 of those were recalls, and 190 were transports. For the month of May in Lower Salford Township, we were dispatched to our first due 115 times. We were only medic assisted 4 of those times because our other truck was out. So total dispatches for Freedom Valley actually with all the mutual aid was 209 times. We were dispatched in Lower Salford 138 and outside of Lower Salford 71 times. We were recalled by 345 49 of those times and recalled by other 4 times. So we received mutual aid 19 times in the month of May. And we provided mutual aid 18 of those times. We covered the agencies of Skipback and VMSC. I also have the year to date. Do you want me to go over them? I mean,
Just a quick question. I know it's pretty similar between us and Limerick on the Lower Salford Township calls covered by Freedom Valley for the year is about 83%, and it's 85% for Limerick. So pretty statistical.
Absolutely.
Cross is that pretty normal that it's in that like range of about 80-some%? Even like if I looked at Skipback or VMSC, would they be looking at similar numbers with these? Obviously, that
Yes.
mutual aid is coming in to cover otherwise.
Right.
We're obviously giving it out on
Right.
places too.
Exactly.
That's a good benchmark in that area.
Pretty much so. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Our station service levels are pretty awesome, actually. from last year to this year. So as you see, the April and the May. So I'll just go over the May. For 2024, we were ALS 33.7% of the time. In May of 2025, we were ALS 95% of the time. So great increase. I give that all the compliments to our board of directors and our team of providers. They've been amazing. So we've had no crew for the month of May, 0%. So no crew. So we've been staffed 100%. So yeah, so we're really, really happy about that. So our shoot times are again in the 90th percentile. That's the national standard. That just means we get out the door within so many minutes and we're on scene within so many minutes. That's the national standard and we exceed that. So we did do 192 total transports. So that is in my report as well for the 31 days of May. Okay.
But just refresh over, 376F is which station?
So that is our float. So it's
Float.
between the Lower Southford 3 days a week and the Limerick 4 days a week.
Okay, and so when it says there's 24 with no crew, is that scheduled no crew or is that?
That's 24 hours, yes, of no crew.
Yeah.
We were covering the station for the yeah.
Okay,
So,
so that was.
but then we moved
for
up
a
around,
scheduled thing.
yeah, so it's,
The other
yeah.
two were zeros, great.
Yes.
So, okay.
yes. Anything else?
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good to see you. All right, moving right along, communications committee, Kevin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. Couple exciting things happening in communication. One for the Harleysville market coming up, we were trying to explore different ways of letting people know what's happening in our township. We have great things on our websites, great things you can sign up for, people here, people watching as well. And one of the things we thought of was having maybe a raffle to attract people at the market. To just give away a Lower Southford paraphernalia, a shirt, perhaps. All people have to do is come up, sign up for the constant content. Make sure they're signed up for that, they get entering the raffle. And we hope to announce the winner at our next communication committee meeting to encourage people to watch that as well. We also are excited to have a new member, Mr. Carlson, here as well. Will be hopefully appointed if we all vote positively on that later on today.
It's very elite now, isn't it?
But I am, and our next meeting will be July 16th. We'll be meeting here in this room and on Zoom, encourage residents and business members to attend. Offer the right ideas and insights as well.
Any questions for Mr. Sheldon? That reminds me that the upcoming meetings are listed at the bottom of the agenda, for those who wish to attend, all of them. Recreation Authority, we did meet in, the end of June. To no one's surprise, probably in this room, it rained, so we did not do our horse tour as planned. Also, for the month of May, it was fairly soggy, so we missed rounds by, budgeted rounds by 400 plus. So long story short, we missed budget. It looks like we're gonna do okay in June, and for the year, we're so that's the latest with the recreation. Any questions? All right, moving on, unfinished business. That brings us to A, 480 Ross Mill Road, Southford Mennonite Church conditional use hearing, where I turn it over to Stephen Township Solicitor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, everyone. At this time, I am going to open up a conditional use hearing because the township has received a conditional use application from Southern Mennonite Church with regard to property at 480 Grouse Mill Road. This is property that's located in the R3 medium density residence zoning district. The applicant intends to construct a one-story outdoor pavilion with associated parking connected to an existing parking lot that's on the property. Pursuant to section 164-15B of the Lower Southford Township zoning ordinance, non-residential accessory uses require conditional use approval from the Board of Supervisors. But just to refresh everyone's recollection, a conditional use is considered a permitted use under Pennsylvania law, provided that an applicant can satisfy compliance with the terms and conditions for that use that are in the zoning ordinance. And it isn't determined that there's a high probability that that use will result in any adverse impact on public health, safety, and welfare beyond what might be expected of that use. So in terms of procedure, this evening, will be a bit more formal than a regular meeting. The applicant is here, represented by counsel. They are going to present the application, present any witnesses and testimony that they have in support of their application. They have the burden of proof to do that. The board will be allowed to ask questions of the applicant's witnesses. And at the conclusion of each witness's testimony, members of the public will be given the opportunity to ask questions, which has been this board's practice. And then at the end of the presentation, members of the public can offer comment for or against this application. So with that introduction, what I'm going to do before I turn it over to applicant's counsel is I'm going to mark several township exhibits into the record. Exhibit T1 is going to be the conditional use application that was submitted by Souderton Mennonite Church on March 19th. Southford Mennonite Church, excuse me, on March 19th, 2025. Exhibit T2 is going to be a letter from John McShay, counsel for the applicant, dated March 21st, 2025, which grants an extension of the time requirements to hold an initial hearing on this application. T3 is going to be a plan set that consists of 5 sheets prepared by Richard C. Mass Associates entitled Proposed Pavilion Prepared for Southford Mennonite Church, dated January 30th, 2025. T4 is going to be 3 plan sheets identified as foundation plan, floor plan, and elevation. Those are titled Proposed Picnic Pavilion for Southford Mennonite Church. They're prepared by Warren Taylor Architect, and they're dated August 22nd, 2024. P5 is a review letter from CKS Engineers on this application. That review letter is dated June 27th, 2025. P6 is a review letter from the Montgomery County Planning Commission dated April 2nd, 2025. P7 is a copy of the meeting minutes of the Lower Southford Township Planning Commission meeting, which occurred on April 23rd, 2025. T8 is a proof of publication of notice from the Souderton Independent verifying that the original hearing date in this application of June 4th, 2025 was advertised on May 18th, 2025 and May 25th, 2025. T9 is a verification from Mike Buki as zoning officer that the property was posted with notice of the original hearing date of June 4, 2025. T10 is a list of properties and persons that were mailed notice of this hearing. Before I turn it over to council, I just note for the record that at the June 4, 2025 meeting, we didn't have a court reporter, but the hearing was continued to tonight, which is a date certain, so there was no need to re-advertise it here. So, John.
Thank you very much. John McShay from East Point and Gray, and here on behalf of the applicant, Southford Mennonite Church. Great to be before you again. Your solicitor summarized the application well. I would only note that just as a general background, I'm sure many of you are familiar with the church, but as located on Ross Mill Road, has been there for many, many years. Properties improved by the church building, a cemetery, an existing parking area. And what they're proposing is a accessory pavilion structure. It's permitted by conditional use on the property as an accessory non-residential structure. In addition, but related to that conditional use request, is a waiver for land development. It's not part of the hearing that's before you tonight, but it is on your agenda, so I'll mention it. With me here tonight, I have Tori Long Jones, the representative of the church. She's going to present some testimony regarding the proposed use, how the church proposes to use the pavilion, why it is that they are seeking to add this structure to their property. And we have John Hunt from Rick Mass' office. He's standing subbing in for Rick tonight, and he'll walk you through some of the details of the plan. As your solicitor noted, we were before the Planning Commission in April before they reviewed both the conditional use application and the request for land development. They did recommend approval of both those applications. I have a couple of pre-marked exhibits myself and some booklets. I'd asked that I could pass those out before we get going.
That's great.
I would just note that one of those exhibits is a site plan. it might be the same as your solicitors, which is marked as T3. Although this was revised on June 5th and submitted to the township by Rick Mast, was reviewed by your township engineer. And the most recent review letters from last week, June 27th, do comment on that most recent plan. So that's what you'll see in our booklet. So I'm gonna take a moment, my stuff down, pass those out, and we'll have Tori come up.
Okay, so we're in receipt of applicant's exhibit booklet, which has been pre-marked, exhibits A1 to A4. A1 is an aerial photograph, A2 is a site plan, provides June 5, 2025, prepared by Richard C. Mass Associates. A3 is a set of architectural drawings of the proposed pavilion prepared by Warren Taylor Architects. A4 is a Montgomery County Board of Assessment map of the property.
So Tori's gonna present the testimony first. I apologize. I think I introduced her as Tori Long Jones. It's Tori Jones Long. That's my mistake. That'll be the last one I make.
I apologize for the Saturday midnight shirt. For offering apology.
There we go. Hi, good evening, everyone.
I'm sorry, raise your right hand. I need to swear you.
My right hand.
You solemnly swear or affirm testimony about to give this proceeding is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
You can spell your full name.
Tori, Tori, Jones, Jones, Long, Long.
Thank you.
There we go.
So Tori, I just asked you to introduce yourself to the board and just tell them what it is your role with the church.
Sure. I am the church administrator, and I've been doing that role for 7 months now, jumping into this project in the middle.
Okay. There was a review letter received from the township engineer regarding the conditional use plans. And I'm gonna ask you a couple questions to addressing some of the comments in that letter, if you don't mind.
Sure.
So can you just explain to the board why it is that the church is looking to construct the pavilion on their property?
So we'd like to construct this pavilion in part to have sheltered space to further enjoy our property. We have a beautiful property and we don't have any sheltered space that lets us be outside and not be in the elements. And we have a lot of activity at our church that we would like to continue to do in a more comfortable setting. So one of the big motivations is accessibility for our older members. We hold outdoor services several times a year in another part of our property that's just not super safe or comfortable for those folks to join. And so to have easier access and places to sit and again, shelter is important for us to be able to provide some accessible space for our older members. And we also have a peace camp that serves, this year was 70 children in the community, and it would be nice to be able to provide space outside for that program that we've been doing for 25 years now. So those are the primary reasons to be able to enjoy our property.
Thanks, Tori. What about the days of the week, the hours of the day that this will be in operation, will be used?
Yes, we anticipate Sunday to Saturday, sun up to sundown as the possible uses for the pavilion.
Will any events be planned in the evening, which would require outdoor lighting?
Not typically, no. And our existing parking lot has sufficient light if things would extend a little bit beyond sunset, but our goal is to be using it primarily during daytime.
But do I understand you to say that there are no additional outdoor lights proposed as part of this pavilion?
There are not.
Does the pavilion include any amplified music systems or a sound system?
Nothing built into the structure itself. We do minor amplification for outdoor church services. Always respectful to our neighbors, and we've never gotten noise complaints from them about existing activities, and we don't anticipate really any other things adding to that.
Church has a daycare on the property, correct?
Yes.
Will that daycare be using the pavilion?
On a very limited basis, in talking with the directors of the childcare, they are primarily thinking picnics during their lunch times outside, and maybe water activities and messier activities that would be nice to do outside instead of inside.
The proposed pavilion includes restrooms and a warming kitchen, correct?
Yes,
Can you explain why it is that you're proposed to include those features in the pavilion?
sure. So it's not the most convenient thing to be outside for something and then have to walk back to the church. It's not super close to the church building. So restrooms would be beneficial to the folks who are enjoying using the pavilion. And the kitchen is just for warming and storing food for any sort of outdoor potlucks and things that we have at the church. It's a warming kitchen, so there's not any stoves or like significant appliances that involve cooking. Just space to store food and plug in crock pots.
Is there like a mechanical exhaust system in the kitchen?
There's no mechanical exhaust in the kitchen.
Will the church be selling food from the pavilion?
No.
What is the maximum amount of people that the church is, proposing to use the pavilion for at one time?
So our largest attended events typically are about 125 people. That's including children. The pavilion capacity, I believe, will be 150 people. We don't anticipate it being at capacity most of the time that it's used.
Are there any specific events planned which would attract larger crowds than normal?
There are not.
Will the church ever be renting that pavilion to outside groups to use?
It will be available for outside groups to use. We expect that will be church members and neighbors, maybe some folks from the community, and also we call them conference-related ministries. The church that is the conference that it's in has relationships with other churches, you can imagine, and organizations. And so if a group like that is looking for a space, we would offer that to them as an option.
Final question, and you don't have a booklet before you, but if you'd like to look at it, you can. Behind tab 2 is the market exhibit A2 is the site plan for the property, and it shows an access aisle or driveway to the pavilion. Can you explain for the board how exactly the church foresees using that access drive?
Sure. So there is an extension of our existing parking lot. That is primarily to allow folks to be able to pull up to the pavilion to be able to unload things as needed. And we propose 2 parking spaces there that will be handicap accessible in the event that someone needs to park a little bit closer to the pavilion to be able to get to it. It's not anticipated to have much through traffic or function like our parking lot or driveway does now, just to provide some more macadam access to the pavilion itself.
Do you foresee, or does the church foresee that being a heavily used kind of access drive?
We do not.
Those are all the questions I have for Tori. Board members' questions.
No. I think I'm good. I wish you well leave to your private property.
Thank you.
And
We're gonna have John Hunt. We're gonna have John Hunt, engineer the project, talk about the plan.
Raise right here. For a firm, that's about to give this proceeding is the truth.
Don't have an exhibit booklet if you'd like to read through, if you need to refer to the plan or anything like that.
Okay.
You might have a copy with you, but could you just describe for the board some of the details of the plan, including the location of the pavilion, the size of the pavilion? Some of the details about the driveway and the hardscape path to the pavilion.
Okay. So the pavilion is 4,807 square feet. That's the roof area. 2 proposed buildings, the warming kitchen and the bathroom and storage are underneath that roof area. The pavilion is located about 55 feet behind the existing parking lot that fronts Ross Mill Road. So it's about 310 feet from the legal right of way of Ross Mill Road. In the rear, the pavilion is about 800 feet from the Bella Vista residential area and about 630 feet from the residential properties on Meeting House Road.
For the record, the size of the pavilion, does that include all open, open areas of the pavilion or just the enclosed walls portions, which would be the restrooms and the kitchen?
That includes the roof area, so entire footprint of the pavilion.
And your understanding that under the zoning ordinance, the only portions of the building that would count towards the maximum size of the building would be those enclosed wall portions.
Yes, that's my understanding. Those two buildings total have 666 square feet.
What's the building height, the height of the building?
It's 15 feet. That's measured from the ground to the midpoint of the roof, between the highest and lowest elevation of the roof. And that's what's permitted in the zoning ordinance.
Is that shown on the architectural plans, which in your booklet for the board's benefit is behind tab 3?
Yeah, it is.
Mr. Hunt, does the proposed pavilion, does it satisfy all the specific conditional use standards for a non-residential accessory structure under section 164-15B of the zoning ordinance?
I believe it does.
And does it also satisfy all general conditional use standards in the zoning ordinance, which are provided under section 164-85.6?
Yes, I believe it does.
Just to quickly, did receive a review letter dated June 27th, 2025. Did you review that letter?
I did.
Are all portions or all comments of that letter, are they all will comply comments?
Yes.
Just the one thing I want to touch on, well, there's two things because it's come up for the planning commission. Paragraph 2A, subsection 5 of that letter, it asks about where the existing public sewer is and will those restrooms tie into the existing sewer? Does the proposed pavilion and the restrooms there, will that tie into the existing connection to public sewer?
It will. There's a grinder pump unit proposed right outside the pavilion, and that will pump the sewage to an existing lateral that serves the main building.
The other comment I just wanted to touch on, apologize, make sure I'm looking at it correctly. Which is paragraph 2C in the letter. It asks about setbacks of the accessory structure. There's 4 tax parcels on the property, but is it your understanding that all 4 of those tax parcels were consolidated into one parcel?
It is, that's my understanding.
And if you look at behind tab 4 of your booklet, is that the Montgomery County tax parcel map, which shows that those 4 parcels have been consolidated?
Yes.
Is that identified by the Z on the map?
Yes.
And finally, I just want to ask about, is there an existing dumpster on the property which will be used for the pavilion?
There is, that dumpster is right next to the garage, which is in front of the pavilion. That dumpster was moved there as part of the 2005 land development site plan.
Is there any existing screening for that dumpster today?
There is, there's a opaque fence that covers 2 sides of it, and the 3rd side is covered by the existing garage.
And the location of that dumpster isn't proposed to be changed with this plan, is it?
No.
Those are all the questions I have for Mr. Hunt for the conditional use application. So I'll end my questions there on that portion.
I just have one question. Is the parcels all just assessed together, or was there a deed consolidation that was? Or just curious, I see the Z's, but.
There was not a deed of consolidation,
Okay.
so So yeah, the map shows the parcels connected to Z. In the assessment history, it references a reverse subdivision that occurred in 2005. So, and indications that again, that they were consolidated.
Do any members of the public have any questions for either of these witnesses? Are there any members of the public who'd like to make any kind of statement with regard to this application? Receiving no response to either of those questions. John, do you have anything, before we close the hearing?
I don't.
Okay, all right, so we'll accept all of the exhibits into the record. And we'll close the hearing on this matter. And as the board knows, you have the option of voting this evening on this application or taking it under advisement. It's your call.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion to approve the conditional use as presented to the Bethel Mennonite Church. I am glad they're a growing congregation and have the need for this. And I wish they did not have to go through this process, but that's a matter for another time.
I second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor, say aye.
Mr. Chairman,
Aye.
I'm clear before we vote, just want to remind, abstaining from the system.
No problem.
Good.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay, one abstention. Great.
Thank
All right, moving right along. Item B on our unfinished business, resolution 2025-17, 40 Gross Mill Road, South Mennonite Church, waiver of land development.
Michelle, was this been adequately reviewed and ready to go?
Does, but I have some questions for you as a board to weigh in on, if you don't mind. First one is, does the township want to consider road widening, curbs, sidewalks, or storm sewer along both road frontages?
I do not. Great pavilion, I do not believe that's.
Thank you. Street trees are required along all existing, streets. They have said in a response that there are existing street trees. They were not, however, shown on the plan. If there are not existing or street trees that satisfy your ordinance requirement, will you require them to plant additional street trees?
I, as one member, do not think they should have to do any additional improvement for this pavilion.
Okay,
I am one.
And
I beg your pardon?
yeah, so I can weigh in there. They're not shown on the plan. That was an accident. They can be shown on the plan, but they are there. They're part of the 2004 land development.
And we want to plant more trees in general, so.
Okay, thank you. Will you accept, concrete wheel stops in lieu of curbing along the parking spaces?
Yes.
Great. And, the next one is a question to the applicant. You talked about the driveway, but you didn't say how wide it is on the plan. The minimum width of driveways for non-residential is 18 feet. And if it's 18 feet, then there's a question of, do we want it to be one way or not?
The driveway, is proposed at 10 feet.
10 feet, so that would be, we would need to know if that's acceptable to the board. And do you want it to be signed as one way only?
Does it have to back up out of this couple of
Spaces,
spaces there?
There will be,
Yes.
where the two accessible spaces are, the driveway is 20 feet wide, and the spaces are 20 feet depth, so it's 20 feet down.
so, okay. That was it, thank you. Yes.
It is, that's.
Part of this, I'd like to have, the church, because you bring a grinder pump in, I have to go to sewer authority also. Would you give them a call, let them know what's going on with all this, make sure they're, on board, I don't believe they're getting these.
That's up to this
It's-
authority.
It's also a condition, would be a condition,
Yeah.
of our letter, because it's in our letter.
Yes, okay, great.
Any other questions? I'd be happy to make a motion to approve resolution 2025-17, granting a waiver of formal land development review as long as the applicant is compliant with all conditions as stated in the resolution and the engineer's review letter of June 27th, 2025.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay, one abstention. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks. This.
All right, without further delay, item C, under unfinished business, 10 Schoolhouse Road. That's the preliminary final land development plan discussion of waivers. You know the
Hi.
deal.
Yes, I do. So you're getting tired of seeing me. Oh, gotcha. Gotcha. Okay, so we're here with representatives of Swartley Brothers. They're in the schoolhouse in Wambold Road Corner. We all know them. They've got three buildings currently that are being used for office and warehouse. They're building a new building on the corner so that they can move all their office space into one space and then turn those existing buildings into warehouse. The waivers that were discussed and the plans were discussed with your planning commission. We have 5 waiver requests. First one is to allow a preliminary final and not a separate preliminary plan due to the nature of the development. Number 2 requires curb and sidewalks along all common parking areas. We have another situation where we have a parking lot that drains into an existing stormwater management basin. So we want that to sheet flow right into the basin. So we're asking for the waiver of curb on that part of the parking lot and also sidewalk for that part of the parking lot because there's no need for sidewalk. They're crossing over the parking lot to get into the building. Sidewalk there would not make sense. Number 3 requires curb along all existing streets. This applies to Wambold Road. Wambold Road, as you know, is a state road. It's been widened and improved and really curb would probably be a detriment to the drainage on that road rather than an improvement. Number 4 talks requires trail and sidewalk along all existing streets. There is a trail easement along Wambold, so we are putting the trail in along Wambold. We do have to maneuver that easement a little bit and get that the trail around some existing trees and improvements. So it's not going to be a straight shot, but it will be a trail. And then we're asking for a deferral for the sidewalk along Schoolhouse Road. Again, there are some items, some utility poles and street trees along that stretch of the road. So we're going to move that sidewalk a little bit further into the property and provide you with an easement if you need that sidewalk in the future. And the area is pretty flat and doesn't need a whole lot of grading to put that sidewalk in.
The reason the sign is in the way.
Almost, but not. No, it's not. And what we're trying to do is keep it, bless you, keep it out of the PennDOT right of way so that you don't have issue with that in the future. And then number 5 is a waiver for the type 348 site element screen. We're providing the required opaque fencing, but this dumpster area is already in a paved location, and to add that, we're asking for a waiver to not add that vegetation component of the buffering.
So was that added since the letter was issued? Because our letter.
It might have. My letter is June 24th.
Yeah, we're sitting with the April one, so.
Yeah, that was added because, yes. That was it.
Any questions? The planning commission
Recommended all of these?
They did.
Waiver of the curves at the bottom of the other parking lot, we're gonna have wheel stops there.
Yes.
As okay with the deferral on the sidewalk, as long as we did have one other instance where we had a business owner that deferred their sidewalk and then we came along to do a sidewalk project. And we've run into problems because they put their sign in the way and they put their other things in their shop that this sidewalk might have to be going on.
And they
So, I'm sure the representatives of Swartley are well aware that that is a possibility. And they will not put anything in the way of that, and the resolution will clearly state that.
And we will have the easement, and I think we'll probably show the sidewalk with a note that's not to be built, just so everyone knows where it's going. Yeah.
makes sense.
And just a few comments and considerations. Again, it's just for considerations waivers, so subject to change as well. But as we've said before, so as you've heard, as well as my colleagues with the first one, deferring, requiring a separate preliminary plan. You stated that just outside permits and approvals are outstanding. really, this is the very fact that why we should do this with the outside approvals here. We have a two-step thing. It's the very fact that these are outside permits as the township control. I think that's kind of one of the reasons why we should consider keeping that. Our standard two-step review process is specifically designed to manage this kind of uncertainty, allows us to ensure that once these external decisions are finalized, any resulting design modifications can be thoroughly incorporated and reviewed before a final plan is approved. Again, the rationale for the waivers seems to inadvertently enforce the necessity of our existing sequential review process. That, two, with your curbs and sidewalks, I would lean to Michelle for this one. Again, it's my understanding. I understand the engineering concept, but the ordinance requires curbs to control and correct that flow. Do you have any comments on this?
No, I agree with Ms. Rice that in this instance, it is on the edge of a parking lot that where directly behind it is the stormwater basin. So to put curb in that location would require inlets, a stormwater collection system and piping that really isn't needed.
I
in
appreciate
this
that.
case.
I appreciate that. That's like great. Thank you. On that same waiver though, furthermore, it stated that employees need to walk across the parking lot to get in the building and not along the edge. That fact highlights, in my opinion, a safety concern. Ordinance requires sidewalks to provide safe designated pedestrian pathways, especially adjacent to vehicular areas. Encouraging or expecting pedestrians to walk across the parking lot rather than utilizing edge sidewalks kind of runs counter to our practices, in my opinion on that. Another thing to consider that I didn't think of right away, but with the other requests on the curbs, as Mr. Catman said, we've had issues in the past. We had recently, just actually a couple of years ago, so it was a couple of summers now, we favored a trail, moved the sidewalk. Had it not been for a recorded in YouTube, where you can tell the applicant, hey, you said you let us review it. We might not have gotten out to go over it. When we were going out over it, as you said, it won't be a straight shot. That was a comment that I literally had on tape from them as well, saying, we try to be ADA with the trail and do so much. So I think it is important to consider that with the sidewalk. We also have sidewalks that say it's not as residential there, it goes to an unopened area, it kind of just stops. We have Oak Drive, same thing. It is residential there, it's different from commercial, but could argue, the difference might be more at this location. But that sidewalk ends, and I continue to see people on it. We've had letters saying how much they appreciate that sidewalk. So I do appreciate the trail, but I do just caution that trails would have to stay, we're gonna clean the trail, we're gonna modify the trail, we have to watch for groups, but you have to watch for other stuff that make it not ADA accessible. That's something important. I think that's pretty much all I had, just to sum up my opinion on that. Thank you for coming as well. And as regards to 4 and 5, I don't have an opinion on that now. I did look that over, but again, I do appreciate the letter, so I apologize for that.
Thank you.
Good.
Thank you.
Thanks, Worthy Village, for investing in our community, for your line business. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right, with that, we will move on to unfinished business item D, authorization to advertise the Yoder Road sidewalk project, which is funded through the BCD, BTRP and Montco 2040 frames.
Make a motion to authorize the advertisement as stated.
I'll second. Moved and seconded, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion carries. Next up, authorization to advertise the Main Street and Hunsberger Lane traffic signal upgrade project funded through PennDOT's Green Light Go funding.
Make a motion to authorize the advertisement as stated.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion carries. Finally, letter F, authorization to advertise the Main Street and Maple Avenue traffic signal upgrade project, again funded through PennDOT's Green Light Go fund.
Once again, I'll make a motion to authorize as stated.
Second. Moved and seconded, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion carries.
Bergman, if I could just make a comment just for the general public. Please note, all those were funded through grant programs that our staff has done a wonderful job, our consultant diligently pursuing on our behalf, and very successful, so thank you.
And it's a true boon.
Yeah.
One question on that, if you don't mind. The Yoder Road, where on Yoder Road is that?
Best I can describe it would be from the middle school to, I guess it's called.
Okay, yeah, just that
section.
connect that, yep, that's what I thought, okay, yep. That's
As you know,
cool.
we're trying to get last mile trail connection.
Right.
It's the missing pieces.
Yeah,
If you're heading towards, away from the middle school. so
Right.
I'm-
Yep.
Yeah.
there's a big tree there on the right-hand side.
Yeah.
It goes around that big tree.
I'll take you to the big.
Oh, is it gone?
The other side,
That's a, how do you portraits?
and fortunately, we're very top of all property.
At least we're.
Are they replacing? Okay.
All right, moving on to new business, motion to approve fire police assistants to Skippack Township for their July 4th parade upcoming.
Make that motion to authorize it, hopefully the weather will be pleasant. Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Next up, the appointment of Rob Carlson to the Communications Committee.
Make a motion to appoint, Mr. Carlson to the Communications Committee. We're grateful for his willingness to serve and been very impressed that he has been a diligent attender of our meetings, whether it is via Zoom or in person, so thank you.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Welcome, welcome. All right, next up, authorization to execute Lemmer Land Preservation Agreement.
Make a motion to authorize the execution of the Clemmer Land Preservation Agreement.
Aye. Moved and seconded, all in favor, say aye. Aye, opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Brings us to our second discussion period on the agenda. Is there anyone wishing to be read?
I do. Go ahead, Mr. Carlson.
Yeah, well, if I could take a minute.
Nay.
So, Rob Carlson, Village Fernfield, longtime listener, first time caller, love the show. This is just about the anniversary of my family and I moving here to Lower Salford Township. And a couple of months in, I said to myself, you know, if I haven't been incensed enough about a particular issue that's come up before the township, I'll come up here in about a year and I'll say, good job and thank you. So good job and thank you. Appreciate all of that. So, you know, I hate surprises. So one of the first things we did when we moved in was to check out, you know, what is the development that's going to be around, what's going to change around the house that we had just bought. So I went to Ion Development and very nice page, love it. I don't know who keeps it up, but fantastic work. And there were two properties within about, I would say, 350 feet of my front door. So, you know, at this point, I look at my computer screen and I go, yeah, I gotta go get involved now. I gotta figure this stuff out. And so I appreciate that there was YouTube, all the agendas posted, all of the minutes, the Zoom meetings where I could tune in. And, you know, I only made it out to a handful of the planning meetings or these meetings, but I've been able to participate in that. I can watch people making what I think are good and reasoned decisions and know that if I did have a problem with it, the next time around, I could come in here and say my piece. So
Certainly help.
yeah, I appreciate that. And actually, I have a couple of people just real quick, because I remember I have it in my notes here. So since we've moved here, I have had kind and friendly and patient responses from Patty, Mr. Shelley, Holly, Mr. Canavan, thank you. Scott McGill in your police department, Grace and Michael Buke, who actually sat down with me and went over those plans on my lunch break and just really just seemed delighted to do it. So I appreciate that he had that positive energy for me.
We are surrounded by.
It's true. And let's see, what else? Some FaceTime with your police chief and you, Mr. Bergman.
Yes.
And I want to shout out, since I have this here, Craig Forwood from the authority came to Cub Scout Troop 78. And he gave a lovely presentation on all of the infrastructure, all the sewer infrastructure for, you know, 9, 10, and 11-year-olds. So that, you know, they're not exactly fully engaged with this, but the first slide he puts up is the Smith's Corner pump station. My son goes, "That's my favorite one." He says, "No, that can't be right. You know, it's off this side road and it's got these bollards here. You couldn't possibly be passing it." And I had to stand up from the back and go, "No, we bike past it every day, and it legitimately is our favorite pump station because my son finds it fascinating. I find it fascinating. Just I love the infrastructure." So
Anyway, won't take any more time. It's been a long meeting, but I wanted to thank you for the appointment and I hope that I can contribute as much as possible to the township. Thank you.
I think we have a new competition. Name your favorite pump station. Just one comment, I know I made it during the news hearing, and Joe, I know we talked about it briefly. I understand the need for the regulation on non-residential accessory structures. If we can figure out a carve out for what would be institutional uses such as churches, things such as that, I think. To me, that was an unnecessary process for what the actual use would be. I don't like to see a nonprofit such as that using their funds to pay for that versus something that's maybe better for the community. And and it's an unfortunate thing because oftentimes that all gets caught up in what are really good regulations for specific things. But they sometimes have a broader net and we can just take a look at that. I appreciate that.
All right. Anything else? Anyone else?
I think, thanks for that. For the, obviously the plumber, I'm going to agree with it about it. One thing I did notice, the right attention to, the last thing was the agreement is the assigned without prior notification. Somebody, which, there is some article, I don't remember, it's 5 part 2, sorry, but that one gives us the authority to say, hey, we want to keep it agriculture. So we do have that. That full fail safe, however, and it was already executed by the county, all that too, so we not do. I think one thing with Burger I'd like to see, if you have any say on the future, is maybe an application, so you don't run into that error. You know, if someone comes along, we like pull out something. I understand it's not county writes it, but if you follow it.
Yeah, I do. That's a good point. Even if they can assign it, just give notice.
Just like email, we did this here, because it says they don't need to do that. Again, we have a fail safe, but they decide to not use an agriculture.
It's a standard for their contract.
Yeah, we go back to saying, hey, we should have done that. Again, I agree with contract as is, I don't do all the parties and spin that way from some future considerations.
Very good. We have need this evening for executive session, Mr. Cast.
We do not, Mr. Chairman.
With that, we'll take a motion to adjourn. Move to adjourn.
Second.
Move to second, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Those say nay. Motion carries. Thank you all.
Take care, guys.
Good holiday.
Nice seeing you too. Enjoy the weather.
Good. It's nice to see you all.
Absolutely. Good to see all of you.
Take care.
It's a good thing I like this stuff, 'cause that was long. I said, it's a good thing I actually like watching all this stuff, because I was here just for me. Brutal.